Teamwork makes the dream work. It's Friday. It's Friday. Great job, Jeremy. Thank you.
break the ceiling. We're made for now, not tomorrow. Made for now. Look around, we're made for now, not tomorrow. Made for now. Look around, made for now. Made for living for the moment. Don't stop, gotta celebrate the feeling. Go up, you're living for the moment. Don't stop, cause I break those ceilings. Go up. Love is in the rhythm now. Dance when I want the feelings. Love is on the light to feel you run. We're made for now, not tomorrow. Made for now. Look around, we're made for now.
Hello, hello, hello. What's up? Welcome to Fridays at the Fifth Long Distance. Good to see all of you here. I see people are still signing on. Thank you so much for spending your Friday afternoon with us. Let us know in the chat. Some of you have already answered. What are your high notes for the week? I see the rainbow yesterday, starting to learn ukulele. What else you got? What's been going on this week? And tell us what city, state, or even country you're watching from today. We'd love to hear where you're viewing us from. Before we start, I want to first let us take a moment to remember that the Fifth Avenue Theater and the communities that we serve are on the lands and waterways of the Coast Salish people who have continuously inhabited our region since time immemorial. They are the original storytellers and theater makers of this place we call home. We also acknowledge and honor the tribal nations across Washington state and the many indigenous people from across the country who also live and work in the Seattle area. As we step into this new period of the Fifth's history, we hope to honor their legacies and bring greater attention to their continued fight for equality and recognition. My name is Aviana Rodriguez Brown. I use she, they pronouns, and occasionally I refer to myself in the we. I'm the education curriculum specialist here at the Fifth Avenue Theater. And today I have my hair tucked to the side off my left shoulder. I am wearing a blue jean cut vest with an A pin, as well as a long sleeve red and purple dress. Behind me, you can see white walls, and to my left, there's a blue wall with Christmas lights hanging and a La Maceta painting that says, "Keep growing, never stop growing." Before we proceed, I would like to acknowledge the entrance into the month of May. This month, we honor the Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month. And we also remember that it is the anniversary of George Floyd's murder. To bring acknowledgement to the numerous hate crimes against our AAPI brothers and sisters who have been experiencing these crimes and crime acts of police brutality that have stolen lives of our friends, loved ones, neighbors, and community members. Here are students from the Kent School District singing "I Shall Wear a Crown." We hope it brings you hope. And remember, though we have indeed made strides towards change, there are still many hurdles we must overcome. And the only way we can truly do this is together, united. We'll be right back after they sing to us.
A crown is placed over our heads that for the rest of our lives, we are trying to grow tall enough to wear. Humility, hope, love, compassion. If he were here today, Dr. King would be calling on all of us to remember those who are suffering and those who we have lost, and to work toward a day when we shall overcome together.
I shall wear a crown. I shall wear a crown when it's all over. When it's all over. When it's all over. I shall see your face. I shall see your face. When it's all when it's all going to put on my robe and tell the story of how I made it over. I'm going to put on my robe and tell the story of how I made it over. Can you help me sing that? Say, I'm going to put on my robe and tell the people, say, I'm going to put tell the story. I'm a service, yeah. I'm gonna turn on my
Thank you again to the students of Kent School District who put that lovely tribute together. Now, we are about to start into our panelist introductions for today's workshop. And first up is our student panelists. Aspen, who is a junior at Central Kitsap High School and also currently in Running Start as a freshman. Aspen, come on and join me and introduce yourself to the audience. If you have friends, feel free to say hi.
Hey guys, I'm Aspen, and like she said, I go to Central Kitsap High School as a junior, and I am a freshman in the Running Start program, which is just amazing. It's super fun. So one thing I wanted to share with you guys super quick is 3 ways how I've been staying connected through the pandemic and just kind of staying connected to the arts, because as we know, as artists ourselves, this pandemic has taken such a hard toll on not only us, but our community around us. There aren't any shows to go to, there's no productions being put on. So I just wanted to share 3 super quick ways that I've been staying included. So first of all, obviously is choir. I'm in the advanced choir at my school as well as jazz choir, and it's so fun. I'm just so blessed that I get to be in person every Monday, even if it's not how I wish it looked. It's just amazing to be there. The second way is I starred in this little video reprise, whatever you want to call it, of For the First Time in Forever, COVID style. That was super fun. I loved playing Anna, and it was just amazing. Then the last way that is actually super cool and near and dear to my heart is I was in an indie film with some stars. If you guys have heard of the show Yellowstone, I was in a little indie film with them, and it was super cool. It was definitely not musical theater, not what I was used to, totally different type of acting, but it was super great and super fun to be a part of. And then my high note of the week, just so you guys know, because I want you guys to share your high notes. My high note of the week is that I get to be in choir with all my friends and family, or not my family, but all my friends and my choir family, and we get to put on a production soon.
Oh, super excited for that. Choir was honestly my favorite class in high school. Shout out Craig Shell, my choir teacher. And that's so cool. So you guys are in school, physically in school for 1 day a week.
Yeah, so depending on what side of the alphabet you're on and what class you go to, you either go Monday, Tuesday, or Thursday. And I go Mondays for about 3 hours for choir.
Awesome, great. And one more thing, Aspen, do you mind describing yourself for anyone in our audience who is visibly impaired?
Yes. So I have really dark brown eyebrows as well as brown hair. I am Native American and Italian. I have my hair down today, curled. I am wearing an off-the-shoulder white or gray waffle knit shirt. It's long sleeve. And behind me are white walls, as well as some guitars that are acoustics, classicals, and one electric guitar.
Nice. And actually, Maya dropped in that her high note is she's learning how to play ukulele. So it's funny that you have one in your background.
Oh,
Maybe.
yes, I don't know if you guys can see it, but there's one over there. It's hiding.
Yes, we can. Keep dropping your high notes in the chats, folks. We want to know what's been going on in your week this week. And it looks like Jeremy, our backstage cameraman, has dropped a link in the chat for the show that Aspen was talking about, or the short film. So go ahead and click on that link and watch later. Something else to do this weekend. Thank you, Aspen, for sharing.
Thank you.
As many of you in the audience may know, because I see some reoccurring names, Fridays at the Fifth is a program dedicated to bringing together students who want to learn more about the craft of musical theater. And whether you're just curious or deeply passionate about musicals, we want to empower the next generation by giving y'all a chance to interact with theater professionals who have dedicated their lives to this work. And there's no one better. I mean, there's a lot of other theater artists out there whom we've had on the show and who will come, but there's no one better to have that conversation with you than our panelists here today. So what about we get y'all in the same room? Today's guest is Marc delaCruz. And Marc got his start in the theater here in Seattle and is proud to say he received his equity card from the Fifth Avenue Theater. He's been seen on the Fifth Stage in My Fair Lady, Wonderful Town, Yankee Doodle Dandy, The Wizard of Oz, and Pippin. He's also toured with the Fifth Avenue Theater's musical theater touring company in Baseball Saved Us and A Northwest Bookshelf. Marc's other Seattle credits include work with the Northwest Asian American Theater, Village Theater, React, and Sis Productions. Now based in New York, he is currently a member of the Broadway company of Hamilton as an ensemble member, playing James Reynolds, and understudy for Hamilton, Burr, Lawrence Phillips, and King George. In 2014, he made his Broadway debut in the original cast of If Then. Off-Broadway credits include Ordinary Days, Pacific Overtures, and 3 Days to See. He has toured nationally with If Then and Disney's High School Musical and performed in Cambodia in the world's premier musical Where Elephants Weep. He is a graduate of the University of Washington with a BA in International Studies. Please join me in welcoming Marc delaCruz. Hello, sir.
Hello, thank you. Thank you for that lovely introduction.
Absolutely. That's what it says on paper, but please tell the audience and myself a little more about yourself. What are your pronouns, and describe yourself, and a little bit about like what's New York like right now.
Sure thing. Hi, everybody. My name is Marc delaCruz. I use he, him pronouns. I have short black hair and a black beard. I'm wearing a button-down midnight blue shirt, and I'm sitting in the middle of my studio apartment in New York. I am sitting on the land of the Munsee Lenape people, also known as Manhattan in New York City. Right over my left shoulder is a green floor plant, and there is also a piece of artwork, framed artwork, just above that, and there's a white wall behind me. It's so nice to be here. It's so nice to see you. Thank you, Aviana. It's so nice to meet you, Aspen.
Yes, absolutely. And what's your high note of the week? What's been going on?
Well, I have to say that my high note just changed to that beautiful presentation. I was recovering. I was glad the cameras were off because it had to certainly recover. It was absolutely stunning and such a beautiful just reminder of everything that this past year has brought us. And I thank you, Kent School District, and thank you for creating that. It was a really beautiful moment. I had this opportunity yesterday. I had to be part of a Zoom taping of Asian Jeopardy, which was another high note for me. It was in a celebration of API Heritage Month, and a organization called Asian American Arts Alliance gathered some folks together to play a game of Jeopardy with clues all based on Asian American people and events in history. So it was a great community gathering. It was a great way to learn about people that I didn't previously know about, and to celebrate heritage and history.
That sounds amazing. And Jeremy just dropped a link in the chat. So I think you said earlier, Marc, that it's not quite up and published yet because you just filmed it. So they're probably in editing stage right now, which we've all learned how to edit over the last year. So it takes some time. So keep an eye on their website and watch it when it comes up. Or if that's it, then watch it later tonight. All of those things are possible. Well, that's fabulous. And I mean, I'm sorry to digress, but one thing that came up on NPR just a little while ago is Broadway announced that they're going to open next year in January or February. So that's something to look out for. Someone here has asked, do you know if Hamilton's gonna come back up on stage? And I'm sure if you knew, you couldn't tell us. So,
I think it's safe to say that Hamilton will definitely be back on Broadway.
Great. No one has to worry about that. All right. Well, fabulous. Super excited to jump into the panel discussion. And so we want to hear a little bit more about the industry. And in our industry, we hear a lot, way too often, that if you make it on Broadway, you can make it anywhere. But students, Marc is here today to share with us that Broadway stars are indeed just people like us. And Marc, when we were talking about this workshop, one of the things that you brought up were pre-show rituals. Can you explain a little bit about what that really means when you say pre-show rituals?
Sure. I think everybody kind of has their own rituals or whatever that they would do to get themselves ready to perform. And I suppose that could go for anything, really. Any time you're stepping into something, whether it's a performance or a sporting event or a Zoom presentation or something, that there might be things that you do to kind of step into the mental space, to get your body physically ready, to do whatever it is. So I feel like rituals are whatever works for you. It's a personal thing. It's certainly something that everybody may or may not have. You may not even have rituals that work for you, and that's fine too. I feel like it's a matter of discovering what serves you best to prepare you to perform.
Absolutely. And I know that there are some students here who have been on shows or been in shows before, who are coming to us with that experience. They've even possibly been in our shows. There are some students here who are simply just curious. So we're not talking about a huge bonfire in the woods and dancing around it before the show. We're talking about very simply things that one person or many people do in order to get their mind, body, and spirit ready to walk on stage. And so, Marc, there was one in particular that you wanted to share with us a bit about. Do you want to take us into that technique now?
Sure, I would love to. Well, for me, to feel ready, to feel ready to perform, to get on stage, I need to feel my breath and I need to get in touch with my body. I know, like, when you walk into the theater after your day, you don't know where you've been, what your day's been like. And so to kind of like zero everything in and feel focused, I like to do some breathing, some deep breathing, just to kind of get in touch, because breathing is the key to performing, to singing. In my opinion, it's so important. And so if I don't feel like I'm in touch with my breath, then I don't feel grounded enough to be able to perform. And I also don't feel my body, and I want to be able to inhabit my body and be inside of it. So I just do some deep breathing exercises just to kind of center. And I would love to take you through it right now, if you're willing. What we'll do is, wherever you are, just find a comfortable position. If you're sitting, a comfortable seat. If you're standing, that's great too. Feel your feet on the floor, nice grounded, a little bend in your knees perhaps. And then if you feel comfortable, you can close your eyes. And usually I'll just like take a few just deep cleansing, clearing breaths, like a deep breath in, and then just let it go. And then maybe another one in, and then just let it go. Let the day go. And then maybe one more inhale, deep breath in. Deepest breath. And then let it all go out. You can even use your voice. And then from there, just kind of breathing normally, observing your breath without manipulating it too much, just observing your breath through your body. And this is also a great time to observe your body, any sensations that you're feeling, any body parts that are speaking to you today. See if you can just observe what those might be, and see if you can observe without judgment, and just kind of allowing This is what I'm feeling today. This is how my breath is doing. This is where my breath is in my body. And you might notice that already your breath might start to feel a little bit deeper and maybe a little bit slower. And then from here, I usually like to try to deepen it a bit, try to open my body up to my breath. So imagine for a second your whole body in 360 degrees, and that as you breathe in, your body is expanding in every direction. So we might feel our belly expand, our chest, our ribs expand, but the majority of our lung capacity is actually in the backs of our lungs. So if imagining you're breathing into your back as well, to even receive more air and more oxygen into your body. So in all directions, the body is expanding as you breathe in, and then contracting as you breathe out. And then we'll get even a little bit more intentional with the breath. So bring your focus to the lowest most part of your belly, right beneath your belly button. And as you breathe in, think of that area expanding, your belly, the sides of your body, and your lower back expanding as you inhale, and contracting as you exhale. Then breathe into your lower belly again. And this time, let your rib cage expand in all directions, front, side, and back. And exhale, imagine everything contracting back into the center. Then breathing into your lower belly, into your ribs, and then let it come up into your chest. Let your chest expand, let it feel broad. And then exhale, everything comes back into the center. And then one more, belly, ribs, chest. Maybe you can take a little bit more breath in, a little bit more. And then exhale, chest, ribs, stomach. Let's do one more inhale into your belly, ribs, chest, and then exhale, chest, ribs, belly. And then just continue to kind of ride the wave of your breath. See if you can just keep your focus right on the inhale and the exhale and the movements and expansion of your body every time you breathe. And if it helps to envision that movement of belly and then ribs expand and then chest expands, and then the reverse, the chest comes in, the ribs contract, the belly draws in. And whenever you're ready, feel free to let your eyes reopen if they were closed. Refocus on what's in front of you once again. And because oftentimes it can feel very like sort of relaxing. Sometimes I'd like to just kind of like shake everything back out again, just to kind of warm myself back up. And another thing that's for me is really important is feeling grounded, like getting into the floor and into the earth. So I will do anything that gets me on the ground. I will lay down on my back and just like spread out, or actually physically squat down or sit on the floor. Something that I would even do like during show in the wing. like squat down and like feel my center of gravity drop, that's also really important to me. So thank you for joining me on that little breathing journey.
Wow, Aspen, how do you feel from before that to this now? And I just asked the audience too.
Wow, I feel so centered, like just so aware of my breath. And oh my gosh, I feel like all the weight of the week has just been lifted off. And I love how you said like you're in this moment and it doesn't matter like what happened in the day or the week, and you're just like being in this moment. I feel like really in this moment. It was a great exercise.
Awesome, awesome. I'm so happy to hear. Yeah, because I feel like you never know where you are in any given day, and if you're doing the same show every day, day after day, you're always going to be a different person when you arrive at the theater that day. So what are some ways? This is for me, and I'm not an expert, I'm not a teacher or anything. I've just found that through years of working with other teachers and practicing yoga that these are some things that just kind of help me to pare away what isn't going to serve me so that I can focus as much as I can on the performance to come up.
Yeah, that is absolutely key. And so, just a question here. Marianne points out that this really helped them feel grounded and relaxed, just as Aspen had said. And so, one question here is this something that you do immediately once you walk into the theater, check in, and then you sit in at your dressing space, and this is the breathing exercise to like disconnect the day to now this workspace? Or is this something you do backstage already in costume, about to actually physically walk on stage?
That's a good question. And honestly, it changes. There are some days where I walk in and I'm like, I need to like center myself right away. Like, I had a difficult conversation with someone right before I walked into the theater, or something was distracting me, and I was like, I just need to like do this now. And sometimes I'll do it right before the show starts. It's maybe like 5 minutes to places, and I'll take a minute and just sort of, and maybe even in the wing, like maybe even after I'm already like dressed, ready to go, ready for the show to begin, and I would just take a few moments right there to kind of get in touch with my breath right there in the wing. So it sort of varies depending on how I'm feeling that day.
Well, before we get into any other pre-show rituals, there's a wonder, are there any rituals of other castmates? You feel free not to name anyone, but anything that you've seen backstage that you've noticed are reoccurring events or pre-show rituals that you could possibly just comment on, just to show the range of different types of pre-show rituals?
Yeah. Well, one thing I've noticed and I don't know how much of it's a ritual, but one thing I've noticed at Hamilton at our theater, at the Richard Rodgers Theater, our stage management office is like just a few steps off the stage. Like you exit stage right, and then you take like a few steps and turn, and you're in the stage management office. And what I noticed, and I noticed this from the very first time I joined the company, was that right before the show starts, cast members will come into the stage management office and like fully dressed and ready for the show, and we'll sort of gather, talk to stage managers, talk to each other, just kind of check in, just kind of like having small talk. And I found that to be a really nice way for everyone to just kind of like connect in a really simple way, right before we jump into the show. Um, there's this other really lovely thing that happens in our company, whenever somebody is going into the show for the first time, or if they're doing a new track or a new role for the first time. They like to get everybody in the basement, and whoever the person is that's going on gets in the center of a circle, and everyone gathers around them, and they place hands on the person's shoulder.
Mm.
And it's usually James Monroe Iglehart who plays Thomas Jefferson, who would sort of say some words of encouragement, of gathering, of support, just to let the person know that like everybody's got their back, and that they might be feeling however they're feeling, but the whole company, everybody in the building has their back and they don't have to do this alone. And I found that to be a really grounding, supportive, and beautiful ritual that they've started there. So
That's lovely. Thank you for sharing. Aspen, how about you? I know that you're coming into your junior year. Are there any pre-show rituals that you have experienced or seen that have helped you along the way?
For sure. One of them is quite common, I've come to see. It's the shakeout. And before the show, we all come in a big circle and we all just do like like we count to 8 on each hand, we count down to 1. And at the end of that, we celebrate. But another one that I've always done is, it sounds kind of weird, but I'll take a prop of mine that I use for the show. So like when I was Fiona in Shrek, I took my crown and I would just kind of like look at it and I would like get into character. And with my other like 2 Fionas, since there was like a kid, a teen, and then the actual Fiona, we had this favorite song or this favorite part in our song. We'll choose like whatever show it is, the favorite part, our favorite prop and the favorite part of our song, and we'll just kind of like dance it out and like dance out our nerves. And when we're backstage, we'll always do a little funny dance move to encourage each other, like before opening. So during Anne of Green Gables, my friend would do like, he'd go bend and snap. So that was kind of our little dance move for that show. But we have one for each show that I just adore, and it's so fun.
Just in case for those newcomers to the theater, can you take us through the shakeout, just 1, 2, 3, just to the number 3?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Do you want me to stand up or?
If you, I think everyone needs to stand up if you're able
Yes,
to
I
stand up.
agree.
If
Okay.
not, I would just sit back in your chair and get grounded in your chair so that way you can lift your feet off the ground.
Okay, everybody with me. So we're gonna start with our right hand, move to our left hand, then move to our right foot, and then move to our left foot. So we're just gonna count to 3 on each one. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 1, 1, 1. It's time.
Yeah, that was good. So normally you would count down from 8 all the way to dropping 1 number each time you get to a new number, right?
Yes.
Okay, just want to clarify. So if there's if there's any time that anyone ever needs to just like shake it out, just go into the shakeout before a job interview, before you jump on stage. These are all really
use
good.
it for anything. I mean, I use it like before a test or something. People be like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Don't worry about it. It's a theater thing. You would not understand."
Absolutely. And we did have another student who is scheduled to be here today. And one of the pre-show rituals that they shared with me was a half sun salutation. So Marc, you mentioned yoga earlier. I'm not gonna go through the full sun salutation because it's like 6 to 8 moves of yoga. But the part that they shared with me was if you take your hands from your side, and then you bring them up above your head, they come together. And then you bring your hands down to center while pushing your palms together. And this is all with breathing. And then you hold here for an in and out breath. And then on another in breath, you bring your hands back up to center. And on this one, you're actually gonna bend backwards. So once your hands get fully straight, you sort of bend back a little bit, open that up, take an in and out breath here. Press your palms back together and come back down to center. And release. That is the half sun salutation. There are many more steps to that. And I am not a yoga teacher, so I can't teach those. But thank you, Samuel, for sharing that with us. We wish you could be here today. And for any student who's watching, if you would ever like to be a part of this panel or any panel in the future, please reach out to us. You can find our information if you just reach out to guest services or education programs at the fifthavenue.org, at fifthavenue.org. We would love to have any and all students join us up here. And one last pre-show technique that we'll share today, looking at the time. Yes, one last pre-show technique are tongue twisters. Now, we all may or may not know we've done tongue twisters in the past, but similar to the shakeout, these are very popular. Two of my favorite are red leather, yellow leather. Feel free to repeat after me. Red
leather, yellow leather. Red
Yes.
leather, yellow leather.
Yeah, you could say it fast, or if you need to, you could say it slow, whatever works for your brain, but you just say it over and over. Red leather, yellow leather, red leather, yellow leather.
Red leather, yellow leather, red leather, yellow leather.
Leather, yellow
That's
leather.
hard.
It is, but
Red
it gets
leather,
your
yellow
mouth.
leather, red leather, yellow leather.
Yes, exactly. If you hit all those consonants, it really gets your mouth moving. Exactly, just like that, Mark. Just like everything should get warm and
Yeah, it's like a buzzing. It kind of gets like your mouth and your lips all buzzing.
exactly. And another one is toy boat, boys toes.
Toy
boat, boys toe.
Now fast 2 times. Toy boat, boys toes. Toy boat, boys toes.
Toy boat, boys toes. Toy boat, toy boat, boys toes.
Toy boat, boys toes. Toy boat, boy. Wait. Yeah, boys toes.
Yes.
Twister too.
To get your mouth connected to your head and your head connected to your mouth, because we're all about to get on stage to sing or in front of a Zoom camera, whatever the case may be. So those are some really fun and very complicated tongue twisters I'll leave you with.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Just as Mark, and for all of our audience members, if you have a pre-show ritual, we would love, love, love to hear about it. So please drop it in the chat. If you enjoyed Mark's breathing exercise, drop a 2 in the chat. And if you enjoyed Aspen's Shake It Out exercise, drop a 4 in the chat. We just want to see that you're still with us. We've got a lot of you here live, so very excited about that. Great, thank you. All right. They loved both of your works. So great job, everyone.
Right. I love that shakeout. That's so like, I love that it's so immediate. Like
yeah, and it gets, oh my gosh, like the energy literally goes from like 0 to 100 super quick. It's so fun. And I love your, oh my gosh, your breathing exercises. Like, I think I'm going to do that every time now. I felt so in the zone and in just like, I don't know how to put it out, but it makes me feel just so, I love it.
Oh, wonderful. I'm glad.
And someone here says pretty much the same for both, but both are set in thinking about intention. One just focuses on body part and one on breath. Yeah, definitely. Well, thank you all for sharing your pre-show rituals. As Mark discussed the importance of having routines, definitely want to pose your way to another question that we received from an audience member, which I think ties in nicely as you pointed out, the importance of aligning your body, Mark. But specifically with our bodies moving onto the stage, how does culture and your heritage get brought on stage with you?
That's a wonderful question. And it's something that I've been thinking about a lot. And I feel like my answers have sort of changed over the years, and they might still continue to change. And I think that the way that I feel now is that there are parts of me that I just bring with me everywhere I go, that this is the face that I have, and this is the body that I have, and my life is the life that I have, and my history is the history that I have. And included with that is my heritage and my background and my family history. I'm half Filipino. My dad came from the Philippines when he was a young boy, and my mom is from Hawaii. She's mixed. She grew up in Hawaii, and she's not native Hawaiian, but her identity is very much about being of the Hawaiian Islands. So those are the two those are the two heritages that I grew up with, and I think through my parents, my grandparents, and aunts and uncles, and everybody that was all kind of baked into me. So I think there are certain ways that I bring that everywhere I go, however conscious of it I may be, and I feel like I'm proud of that. I'm proud that this is the face that I have, and I'm proud of, and I'll be honest, because there was not always the case. There were times in my life where I was not as proud of my face as I am now, and I was not as proud of these features, and I question, why do I look this way? And so it's been a journey for me to get to a place where I am proud of the face that I have, that when I get on stage, this is the face that you see, and I am proud of those features. But it has been a journey to get there, and I think that at the same time, I think that carrying your culture, and for all of us, I think carrying our history and our heritage with us, and being safe to bring that with us into a space that we enter is important, and that we should always feel safe to do that, and to not feel like we ever have to minimize who we are or any part of our background or heritage to be able to fit into a space is very important, that we should always have the right to carry as much of it with us as we want to at any given time. I also feel at the same time that it's our right not to be defined by it. That it's our right to not be the Asian guy. It's my right to walk into a space and not be the Asian guy, and I can just be a human being as well. And so it's kind of a case by case basis and a personal thing for everybody. And I think for me, it does change. There are times when I really feel like I carry my culture with me. I really feel my relatives and my ancestors with me when I'm performing, and when I get on stage, I can really feel everything that they taught me and everything they passed down to me. And then there are also times when there are other things about me that I want to bring to my performance that have nothing to do with my ethnic background, that are just having to do with who I am as a person, what kind of qualities I feel like I have that have nothing to do with my race. So it really is, it's something that I think is kind of, for me, is kind of ever evolving. I'm kind of always feeling like I'm visiting this question over and over again. So it's a great one to continue to ponder, I think.
Thank you very much for sharing that. And that comes from one of our students, Amber, who asked that, and actually was one of the reasons why we had this panel today. So awesome. Thank you very, very, very much for being so open with us and pointing out that this is something that we must continue to reevaluate in ourselves, and the answer changes. So absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you, Amber.
Say that again.
Thank you, Amber, for that question.
And stepping into our questions, Aspen, you actually have a list of questions, and questions are coming in from our audience members. So audience members, remember that we enjoy questions that start with the word how, because that'll really get us into where these answers can really go. But Aspen, go ahead and take us away as answers start to flood in.
Yeah, so my first question I have for you is, what is the thing you least expected to like about about Broadway but ended up loving?
Oh, that's a great question. I think I had always heard that that Broadway theaters were small, and that they were there's not a lot of space backstage, and that it's kind of cramped quarters, and that the Broadway, the theaters in New York were originally vaudeville houses, and they were not built with lots of space in the wings. And so that was one thing I thought, like, oh, how's that gonna go, with like all of these humans, in these cramped quarters. And I actually found that I loved it, because you just kind of have to all be together. You just kind of have to all share the space, and it gives us an opportunity to get to know each other better, to speak to each other, to engage with one another. And that kind of builds the whole community of the show, and that carries out onto the stage as well. So I really adore the small. I really adore the small. In fact, like if I'm ever in a theater that's like has all of this space in the wings, I'm like, I don't know what to do. Everyone is so far away.
And so that's really important for our students here, because I've been to some of these high schools where some of them have mass amount of space to play with, and then some of them have a very small black box. So play with what you have, because even if you go far lengths, you may have less than what you currently have. That's interesting. Very interesting, Marc. Another question here from the audience: what was a particular show that made you in that what was a particular show that inspired you to get on stage? I think is what that question's supposed to be.
Oh wow. I feel like there have been so many. I grew up in Seattle. I'm so like fortunate to say that Seattle's my hometown. I grew up there. I went to University of Washington. And I saw a lot of theater there. Seattle's where I got exposed to theater. And where I learned, and as we all know, there's amazing theater, and there's an amazing theater community, and a vibrant theater community, and theaters of all different kinds, and people doing all different kinds of work. And it's such an inspiration. And that's why I feel like I had any entree into the theater world, was because I got to grow up in Seattle and see all these great shows. And so I saw shows at Fifth Avenue, all the touring productions, and the locally produced shows, Village Theater. I also went to a lot of shows at the Northwest Asian American Theater, which was a theater off Jackson in the International District. And I really appreciated those, because my mom would always take us to these plays. And speaking of like a smaller space, it's a smaller space, and everyone is much closer together. But we saw some really engaging plays by playwrights like Philip Khan Gotanda, and David Henry Hwang. And I think that the experience of going to these plays and seeing people that look like me on stage, and seeing stories about people that look like me, really made a difference in kind of inspiring me to get up there myself, to say like, oh, I can do that too, I guess.
Aspen, why don't you take another one of your questions?
Yeah, let's see, let's pick like a juicy one. What was your biggest starstruck moment?
My biggest starstruck moment. Oh my gosh. Okay. So, I'm not sure, you might or might not know of the singing group TLC. They were a huge sensation in the 90s, and have continued to just be like legends. And they have always been like some of my favorite music artists, and their music is just like emblazoned into my memory from growing up, and I've just continued to been like huge fans. And they came to the show. They came to Hamilton one night, and I remember like we were in the middle of the show, and one of our stage managers said, "TLC is here," and I was like, "Wait, what? TLC?" And sure enough, like we met them after the show, and they were so lovely. It was T-Boz and Chili. Left Eye, unfortunately, is no longer with us. It was so tragic when she passed away. But Left Eye and Chili came to the show, and that was like my biggest starstruck moment, because their music is just like such an integral part of my coming of age. And so it's like, you know how music kind of hits you in a certain way depending on when in your life it was prominent, and that's a big example. So I was so Star Trek, I could not speak when I met them.
I don't know if you guys saw, but I had to fall out for a minute because when you said the anticipation was killing me, and then you were like TLC, and I'm like, oh my gosh, yes, this generation may not actually know who TLC is. Are you an 80s baby or a 90s baby?
I'm actually technically a 70s baby, but I was like really like late 70s I was born. Yeah.
Got you. Okay, cool. Yes, TLC, they are. You should, because of this episode, you should all just go listen to their music.
Please listen to all of their music.
Now I need to like branch out. I'm kind of excited about listening to them.
Thank you for asking that question, Aspen. Miranda asks, how has it been in NYC and as a Broadway actor during the pandemic since theater has shut down?
Yeah, thanks for that question. It's been really interesting. It was so when the theater shut down, it was so sudden and it was so immediate, and there was like all of these shows, you know, not just Broadway, off Broadway, like everything just like one day came to a screeching halt, and suddenly everybody just stopped going to the theater. And so it was this, at first it was just really sudden and abrupt, and nobody knew exactly how long it was going to take to return, and so we were kind of waiting and seeing and waiting and seeing, and so there was a lot of anticipation, and then I think it became clear at some point during the summer that this was going to be a longer pause. And what has been really great was seeing how the theater community came together and supported each other and continued to create work virtually, remotely, and continue to gather as we could, if it was on Zoom or if it was some sort of virtual gathering, and also just to advocate for each other, to advocate. There's been a lot of work to advocate for theater workers who have lost jobs. So a lot of theater workers have, and not just here in New York, but in Seattle as well, and all across the country, have lost income. And there's been a really great, it's really great to see everybody kind of coming together to advocate for each other in that way. And yeah, there's been a lot of virtual theater that's been going out, and it's been nice to see people that I know and friends continue to like perform and create stuff. And there's also been there's a huge discussion that's been opened about racial justice in the theater industry, and what is it going to look like when theaters reopen their doors and audiences return, and how can we ensure that everybody who's working in theater is safe and is included. So one other thing that's been really great and really inspiring to see this past year are people really taking the reins and having these conversations and bringing up these concerns, and advocating for a better industry, a better institution all around.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Miranda, for that question. Question for you: where did you go to high school?
Seattle Prep on Capitol Hill. My brother and sister both went there, and so we all went. We all graduated from Seattle Prep.
Panthers?
Yes, the Panthers.
I went to Blanchette, so I think we're supposed to be rivals, whatever high school rivals are actually. I don't know what that really means, but
Right. Yeah, there was always kind of like Prep and Blanchette were like frenemies. Everyone was friends with each other, but but if it was like the sports or something, it was like rival.
Aspen, why don't you take us home with one last question? Unless there's any more questions from the audience, this is your time to put them in. Go ahead, Aspen.
Yeah. So I'm thinking my last question is going to be, what was your favorite dance number of all time?
Oh my gosh. Wow, there's so many. I think wow, like they're all like running through my head. I feel like now I one that I think I'll always say is Rumor It Happens from Hamilton. I could watch that number forever. I just think the choreography is so brilliant and so and so intricate and detailed and specific, and it's just the choreography. To me, the choreography in Hamilton is its own character. And whenever I watch the show from the house, I'm really mostly watching the dancers. I just think that the choreography from the show is stunning.
For those of us who haven't seen it, can you tell us what that dance number is a little bit? Is that where the revolving floor gets involved, or?
It is in it comes in Act 2 when Aaron Burr is who is Hamilton. Aaron Burr and Hamilton are sort of like really good friends, but also there's some rivalry between them. And Aaron Burr has in Act 2 he's much more reserved in general, but he's also very ambitious. And in this number is when he decides that he kind of gets in touch with his ambition. He decides that he wants all of the things that Hamilton seems to so easily attain. And so he sings this song, Rumor It Happens, meaning like he wants to be in the room where all of these things take place, where all of these important decisions are made and important people get to sit. And so the number kind of turns into a fantasy inside of his mind where there's where everybody is a kind of a feature of his mind, of his fantasy of being in the room where it happens. And so the choreography itself is there's all kinds of just like pictures that are really stunning, and the intricacy of the choreography itself, the actual moves are just really mind-blowing to me, and they each have a story of why a hand is this way, why a leg is this way. And there's a big moment at the end where he's standing on a table that has a tablecloth on it, and he jumps off it, and the tablecloth gets ripped away, and it sort of like has this like explosion of joy, but also kind of like ferocity. And the way that it builds is just really stunning to watch in terms of the way the choreography tells that story. So it's something.
Nice. Thank you so much. It's been a long time since I've seen that show. So I was like, oh, I'm trying to picture, but I remember like the silhouettes, and thank you for giving that explosive moment at the end. Thank you.
Thank you for the questions.
Thank you, Aspen, for such great questions. Thank you, audience members, for such great questions. Sadly, we are at the end of our time. It went by way too fast, but that is a great note to end on. Thank you all for hanging out with us today. Thank you so much, Aspen, for being here, and good luck on the end of your semester to all the students who are watching. And thanks for joining us. You know, Fridays at the 5th are here for you students. So if you're interested in hearing something or having us talk about a very specific topic, please reach out to us, drop your suggestions in the chat, or email me personally, A as in apple, R as in rabbit, brown like the color, at fifthavenue.org. And we will make sure to make it happen. And it'll be in this room.
The room where it happens.
Exactly. And don't forget, Jeremy, please drop these links one more time. Go check out Aspen's short film that Aspen was in recently, and also the Asian American Art Alliance Asian Jeopardy that Marc was in. Very excited to watch that and learn some Asian American history. In addition, we here at the 5th offer the Rising Star Project, which is going to be airing at the end of this month on May 21st and 22nd, which is why we won't have another Fridays at the 5th this month. So a little bit about that project, based on original podcasts and photojournalism projects by the students at KEOW's Radioactive Youth Media Program. These new musicals will be live streamed on May 21st and 22nd at 7 p.m. Those interested in attending this free digital event may register at our Crowdcast page, which you're all registered for already. Just look up Radioactive Musicals and register. Check it out. It'll be a lot of fun. These are 10-minute musicals made by students just like you. And if you're interested in getting into the program next year, reach out to us, educationprograms@fifthavenue.org, and we'll put you on the roster for next year. In addition, this is something of my own project. I am working on a project with Common Acre, and we are showcasing Black-run farms around the Seattle area. And on May 16th, there's going to be an artist-guided cooking evening with vegetables from some of the local farms. I personally will be cooking on May 30th, and Jeremy will drop that link in the chat also. So very excited about that. One more program that the Fifth Avenue Education Program has is the audition tape challenge and the production challenges. So there will be a slide at the end. Make sure that you write down that information. We would love for you to be incorporated, and those who are chosen out of the challenge will then progress onto the New York Stage Challenge. Very excited. Can't wait to see all of your challenge submissions. And thank you so much for kicking it with us this Friday afternoon. Some of you are back in person and others are still doing theater online, but until we can all be in the same room again, make sure you wash those hands for 20 seconds or more, stay safe, make art, and keep having real conversations about what's happening in our world, in our country, in our communities, in our industry, and keep on keeping on. Until next time, see you soon.
Bye.
And see you later.
Take care. Thank you, Jeremy.
Thank you, panelists. If you just hold on a moment, we'll let you out. Thank you so much.
Somewhere deep into atmosphere.